Hello everyone, and welcome back to the layout. Today I'm going to start a little bit of a video series here that a few people mentioned they'd like to see here, and that is a tour of my freight cars here on the layout. Now, as I mentioned when I did the locomotive video, I do have a boatload of stuff that is not on the layout, a lot of stuff that's not weathered, as well as some stuff that I built in the past that I've taken off the layout just to bring some variety out. So this is just solely going to be the stuff that's on the layout right now. I'm also going to note that I'm going to break this up into a few videos because there's a lot of cars on the layout, and I don't want to make a 2-hour-long video here just going through freight cars. So we're going to break it up into different stuff. Today we're going to start off with our coiled steel cars. And we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go car by car through this. I'm going to talk a little bit about them just like I did with the locomotives, and hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so our first car here that we're going to be taking a look at today of our coiled steel cars is actually a GE52 coil car. These Conrail picked up from the Erie Lackawanna. Any of you that have been watching the channel for the last year will probably remember this car. This was a kit bash build I did a full build series on. That any of you watching at home that want to build this, you can watch those videos and build your own. So it's not too involved, not too crazy of a build, pretty simple. But this was a custom build. The flat car itself is from Tichy Train Group. The coil rack is from State Tool and Die. And then I believe I used a Details West gearbox on it. As usual, the KD 158. I believe the trucks are AccuRail. And Tangent 36-inch wheels, if my memory serves, because I tend to use the KD 158s on everything anymore, and I also use the Tangent semi-scale wheels, either 36-inch or 33-inch, depending on what the car particularly calls for. But this was just a kind of a neat kit bash. It's far from perfect, but I'm very, very happy with it, especially considering you can't buy these, you got to build them. So to be able to kit bash this and have it come out pretty dang decent, and have a car that Conrail had that's kind of something I'll never probably see in plastic, is pretty neat. Alright, next up here we have a G47 gondola car. This car is another kit build. These were originally available from rail yard models and haven't been produced in quite some time. They go for pretty expensive money. Somebody started producing them again. I can't remember who exactly it was, but I bought the kits from them to do a handful of them, and this is one of them right here that I just recently completed. This one's obviously in the later Conrail repaint kind of scheme. I kept it pretty bright and fresh paint-like, because I do like to do that, as well as adding the little white stripe deals. They're the reflective stripes, because that's what Conrail was using in the late 90s, was that. But a pretty neat car. Again, the Tangent wheels and the KD couplers, same old, same old. This one, as you can see, as well as the previous car, had some Tangent coil steel coils in it. This one has a coil cradle in it, obviously being a 608 series car. But another cool car that be kind of cool if like Tangent or somebody would kind of come out with these eventually, but you never know. Who knows? Knowing now that I've built 7 of them, they probably will. So hopefully in the future we'll see these in production by a manufacturer, but if not, I've got a couple of them here on the layout. All right, here next we have the first of many you guys will see here, Tangent G43 gondola cars here. Now this one in particular is actually one I built from one of Tangent's undecorated kits. That's why some of the decals aren't exactly correct or anything, but well, when I got back into the hobby back in 2017, these had just come out like a year or two before, but they'd already sold out, and they're kind of hard to come by. And in 2018, I kind of got the hankering to have a few of them. So I started ordering the undecorated kits, and well, long story short, I think I ended up building 12 or 13 of them total. And fun fact for any of you that ever buy those kits, Tangent has instructions on the website, which I did not know. And I actually built these based off of a Penn Central car I had, or it was already assembled. I just kind of took the parts and looked at the finished car and kind of tried to put it together based off of that. But just another pretty much car here in the train. This one's weathered a little dirtier. This was back when I didn't really know what I was doing with weathering. I just kind of threw powders at it and stuff because, well, I didn't know what I was doing. Wish I would have kept it a little bit cleaner, but I have quite a few of these on the layout, so there's a few floating around here. But this is just a straight G43, not a G43A, B, or C, so pretty neat car. All right, next up here we have this G43C. This is another Tangent car. This particular car was actually, I want to say this might have been the first Tangent freight car I ever purchased, was this one. This was what kind of got the whole ball rolling with me building a bunch of the undecorated kits into Conrail over the next few months after I bought this one. But this one, oddly enough, I actually need to take off the layout, and I got to pull the coil cradle out of it because when I numbered this one, I did a patch deal on it, and I just kind of picked some numbers that I couldn't find pictures of. So I figured, well, if you can't find pictures, maybe it actually ended up getting patched like this. You never know. But I learned later that all the G43s that were put into coil service later in Conrail tended to be in the 608 series or the 600, 622, that whole area over 600 is what they're renumbered to. So this 579270 is actually probably going to end up with a scrap load in it. Whenever I get around to pulling it off the layout and yanking the coil cradle out of it, I believe I just set it in there, but I don't, yeah, that's just sitting there. So I got to do that here eventually once I get a good load to put in it. But otherwise, just a really nice car. I believe I weathered this with oil paints. This was about the time I was kind of dabbling in that and trying to learn that and stuff. And this was one of the cars that I really was happy with the weathering back when I did it at first, because I didn't know what in the heck I was doing with oil paints, and I was kind of learning on the fly. So with the way this one turned out, just kind of beat up and gnarly looking with rust, very, very happy with it, and still enjoy it so much today that it's still on the layout almost, what, 5 years later almost? So one that'll be on the layout for a long time to come, I'm sure. All right, next up here we have the first G41 series coil car on the layout. And this right here is a classic example of the old modelers joke that when you kit bash them and build them, somebody else will release them. And I actually did, I believe, 12 of these, or somewhere around that, of these G41 coil cars. And then, of course, Tangent released an excellent model of them, which I have a handful of. But that was about 3 or 4 months after I finished building all these. So these are all on the layout. The Tangent ones haven't been weathered or anything yet. But these cars were all built using a steel mill flat from State Tool and Die. And I kind of like cut the sides down a little bit. I put AccuRail trucks under it with Tangent wheels. And then I used some coupler boxes from Details West that looked close enough for my taste. And then all of the coil cradle stuff in the middle is all hand built out of styrene. That's why you'll see some of these middle pieces aren't exactly, you know, cut the right dimensions, all the triangles and stuff. Trying to cut those out was such a pain in the rear end, but at the end of the day, I'm still very, very happy with them. They're far from perfect, and they're pretty rough compared to the Tangent ones, but it's one of those things that I can say I actually built it. So even with its imperfections and everything, I'm still really happy to have them, and still proud of how they look, even if they aren't completely correct. All right, so next up here on our train of G41, so to speak here, we have a later Conrail repaint one. This would have been something that was rebuilt in the late 90s here. This car is pretty much the same as the one before it, and we're kind of going to get into one of those modes here as we work through these G41s. But I don't know about you guys out there. One of my like bad habits with building freight cars is it's like I gotta have like one of each kind of style scheme, so to speak, if that makes sense. It probably will the more you see it here with these cars, but you guys just saw like a earlier Conrail repaint that's kind of darker looking. Now we've got a brighter Conrail repaint. Next you're going to see a Pennsylvania Railroad car, then a Penn Central patched one, and that whole thing. So we're going to kind of start to see some of that here in the way that I put together my trains, because I like to have a little bit of variety in the cars and have some of that different stuff. So this just next one in line here, again, tangent wheels, Katy couplers, the usual shebang with my stuff here. All right, next up here we have the next G41 here. This particular car was a Pennsylvania Railroad painted car that I patched to Conrail, obviously. And this particular car, if I remember right, I weathered this with a little bit of, I did like a fade on it, and then I added some, a little bit of acrylic paint work here and there, and then I kind of came in with some powders and just kind of hit it randomly, and it really turned out good. I'm actually pretty happy with how this one looked. It's not perfect by any means, but still, for the fact that you couldn't get these at the time, I was pretty happy with it. You know, again, it's got the usual stuff, like, you know, these center pieces aren't perfect and all that, but for what it was at the time, being someone that doesn't really do a lot of, well, didn't used to do a lot of kit bashing, these were pretty cool, and still pretty proud of them to this day, for that matter. All right, here we are again with yet another variant of our G41. This one is obviously a Penn Central patched car. Same specs and standards as the last couple. This one just, I did a fade coat on it and added some acrylic paint work and then some chalk powder stuff and just the usual stuff, but just another variant of a paint scheme. Just another one of those things, I guess. You know, you can never have too many of the same freight car if they all look a little bit different. That's kind of my problem in a way. I'm sure I'm not the only one with that, but just another cool car here. Just a little bit of variety, so when the train goes by, it looks like it's, you know, 100 cars long, because there's so many different schemes and so many different little things. And I mean, that's kind of what makes, I guess that's what makes my train stand out a little bit, I suppose. On to the next one. All right, I know you're getting sick of G41s. This is the last one for, at least in our couple cars here. This one's a Pennsylvania Railroad one. And, you know, this one's got like the, with the little car reader plate and the lube plates and stuff on it. And again, just another rough weathering job. This thing's pretty well faded. You know, got a little bit of powder work going on, but just another interesting car to see go by in the train. Just, you know, these are just kind of one of those things that I really enjoyed building and really enjoy running, are these cars. Comment down below if you kind of feel the same way, like when you build a car yourself, even if it's not as nice as some of the ones you get from a manufacturer, if you still like them a little bit more, even though they might not be quite as good, you still like the ones you built more. And that's kind of the way I feel about these. Eventually the tangent cars will get weathered and brought out, but for now, these are what's out here. All right, now it's time for another one of these G47 kits I recently built. I believe I only did 2 of these as coiled steel cars, if my memory serves. So we'll find out here later in the train. But again, with the classic CR Steva having to have things different on each car, the previous car didn't have any of these side panel pieces with the logos on. This one does, and that's part of the reason I chose this number, is because I wanted to be able to put these panels on here, because some of the cars had that, some of them did, and it just kind of depended. But just, you know, that's the variety thing I like with building stuff like this. And that's one of the reasons I have so many G43s, is because they're kind of the similar kind of deal there. So just another cool car here in the coiled steel train. All right, here we have a, I believe it's an exact rail car if my memory serves, but this is just another kind of neat car in the train here. I like to have a variety of gondolas, because like I like how this one sits higher than the G47s and stuff, and just little things like that. Again, custom weathered by me. Everything's been weathered by me on the layout. So other than that, nothing too special here. I actually built a coil cradle here on the inside of this. I'll try to get a picture of it too, if I remember, and put it in the video right now. I'll edit that in here. And I built it out of just some round styrene tube. It's not, you know, prototypically 100% correct anything, but it's based off of a photo I found of an inside of a gondola car and how they used like these big tubes to make a coil cradle essentially inside the car. So kind of a neat one, but just, you know, another filler car in the train, so to speak. All right, so here we have yet another GE52 coil car here. Another one of these flats that I built. This one actually is one that I built before I did the how-to videos, because a little known fact for those of you out there, before I made the how-to video, I build a car first just to make sure I know what the heck I'm doing before I try to make a video to show other people how to do it. And as you can see, this one came out pretty decent. This, you know, side walkway kind of does the whole up and down thing. Kind of is what it is. You know, not the best, but at the same time, it's one of those things, you can't buy it, so you got to build it. And if it's not perfect, who cares? It's, you know, better than not having it at all, in my opinion. I would much rather have a car that's a little bit off and not 100% perfect that I built than not be able to have it on the way out at all. So just another neat one. I think there's one more of these in the train, maybe. I'm not sure. I think I built 3 of them total. I got to look. But just another classic Conrail piece here. All right, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like, really, more of these? Yeah. This I told y'all I did a lot of these. So we're gonna have our next 2 G41s here. This one's kind of like an 80s repaint here, 70s repaint, somewhere in there. Just a dark brown, kind of a lighter weathering, but still weathered pretty harsh. So just, you know, same specs as the last 5 of them. I'm gonna go ahead and roll this on up here, and we'll get the next one in here too. We'll double up. See, now we have just a straight Penn Central car, not patched or anything. So, you know, just typical G41, I guess. Nothing too special there, but it's got, you know, some fairly gnarly weathering. Got some paint up, or some rust up in here. A little rust in the troughs kind of showing through from the sides and stuff. Not my best weathering work. The camera makes it look passable, but not bad overall. But just another cool car I got out here on the way out. All right, so we got yet another G41. Not quite as many of these on the way out right now as I thought. I've put quite a few of them away, but this again is just like a later Conrail repaint. It's a G43C here. Just kind of a neat car. Again, I built these all in one summer back in, that had to have been 2018-ish. Sometime around there, but I built and painted them all, did all the decaling and stuff. The decals aren't 100% right by any imagination. They're, you know, I didn't totally know what I was doing back then, but everybody's got to learn, and that's what these are kind of an example of, is me learning how to build stuff back then. So kind of a neat car, just something else in the train here. All right, some more G41s. Here we have again, a later Conrail repaint that looks like my knuckleheaded butt never painted the air hose there, you know, because if any of you think I'm perfect, I am very much not. But for this car, just went ahead and did the waiter repaint, and then in the troughs I kind of did like some green showing through and some rust brown and stuff. Looked pretty gnarly and cool. So that's a good looking one right there. And then next up we've got a, you know, like 80s, like 70s, 80s repaint kind of deal here, with some rust showing through the trough sides and a little bit of rust in the troughs themselves. Just another neat piece here. But, you know, it's still got 3 more of these to show yet, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them, because y'all have seen quite a few of them at this point. All right, so here we have another one of the G43s that I built way back when out of a kit. This one specifically is a G43A. And this one's kind of neat because it's got the Conrail quality logo on it from the late 90s. They did these with a few cars. And I don't recall if they actually are supposed to have coil cradles on them or not. I probably ought to check that out eventually, but this one does. And then this one, this is one of those cars I learned something on here, you know, because it's always important to learn when you're building stuff here. But if you look closely here, you'll kind of see where this paint's kind of like all wrinkled up and crackled out and stuff. That was a result of, I believe I was using Skill Coat 2 paint at the time to paint all these, And then when I was clear coating them, I was using just like a gloss clear coat. I might have been using dull coat or the Krylon stuff I use now. But either way, for some reason, when you use any kind of like an acrylic clear coat over scale coat, it makes the finish wrinkle. And it's kind of frustrating because the only thing I've found that'll clear coat over scale coat without doing that is scale coat's own clear coat, which you can no longer get because scale coat's not around. That's a whole problem I'm going to have a big problem with because I got a boatload of paint left. So, but either way, still kind of a neat car. One I've done and did, you know, a few years ago now. It's got a bit of a rough weathering job on it again. Didn't know what I was doing back then, but you got to learn somewhere. So just another example of me learning what the heck I'm doing. All right, now we're going to start our parade of the last few G41 coil cars here. I haven't mentioned yet, but all the coils are either the Walthers steel coils or tangent ones, as you guys can tell by the really goofy looking strap lines that I did with the Sharpie there. These are the Walthers ones, which look decent. They don't look that great compared to the tangent ones, but that was what I had available at the time. That's what I bought. So this car is just a Pennsylvania Railroad car that's been patched to Conrail. Just nothing too fancy here, just similar to the other one I believe we had in the train already. Next up we have this Penn Central car here. Now this one, this one right here is a really good example of when you're working on something and you're just not at all happy with it. And then when you finish it, somehow it ends up looking pretty decent. This one, I just never was happy with the weathering when I was working on it. I didn't want to work on it, and it just driving me nuts. And then I don't remember exactly what I did, but by the time it was done, I was actually pretty happy with it because it's got that like yellowed greenness to the Penn Central green that just looks really good. So it was just one of those, you know, I had to fiddle with it a little bit, and I finally got it to where I liked it. And then last up here of our G41s is this car here, which of course is a later repaint. And a little bit of a side note, out of the couple of these cars I did that were late repaints, naturally like 3 of the numbers Tangent did, I believe, which is just kind of about my luck, I guess. So when I was ordering those cars after they came out, there was only like 2 numbers I could get, which kind of stunk. But either or, still glad I built these, still enjoy having them on the layout quite a bit. Alright, I thought there was another one of these GE52s on the layout, and here it is. This one actually has coil covers on it. So this again is built the same as the other ones you guys have already seen in the train. It's a Tichy flat car with the, oh gosh, coil cradle from State Tool and Die. This one I didn't do the side walkways because I didn't like how they turned out on that one other car, and I kind of regretted not doing that, but it is what it is. This particular car this is a coil from a Walthers car that I weathered and did a while back. It's not my best weathering by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still pretty neat. And then this here is, I believe, one of the coil kits from State Tool and Die, one of the coil cover kits, because it's got the little round hook deals on the top that I hand bent and put on there. So that's one thing I do like to try and do, is try to mix up these coil hoods, because in real life they get mixed up and matched around and put everywhere, and so it kind of makes it look a little more realistic if you move them around. Now, how realistic is it having these cars that covered coils on a train of uncovered coils? Probably not that realistic, but what are you gonna do, you know? Just kind of what we're working with here. So that'll leave us with our last car in the coiled steel train here coming up. Alright, and last but certainly not least here in our coiled steel train, this is actually a Walthers coil car kit that I custom painted. This one obviously is a later 90s repaint. The decals and all that aren't completely correct. They were just as close as I could get them based off of what I had as far as decals. That's a really difficult part about doing coiled steel cars and gondolas and all that, is trying to find decals that are close. Again, for the coil hoods, this one I believe was weathered quite a while ago. I don't even think that car's on the layout right now. And then this was a State Tool and Die hood that I added the little handles to and the little deals on the roof there. So that's going to wrap up all the Conrail cars here. I believe I have a chassis car over on the other side here that I'll have to show off to you here in a second. All right, so here we have yet another Walther's coil car kit build I did. This one obviously is a Chessie B&O car, kind of weathered the late 90s, pretty rusty and beat up and faded and just just pretty well used. This one, I believe, if my memory serves, I did this with oil paints. Again, I got in a bit of an oil paint phase where I was using oil paints on everything because I thought it was cool. So this one, I'm pretty happy with how the coil hoods came out. I think I could do better today than what I did back then, but for the time, I'm pleased with what it looks like. Wish I would have used like the tangent wheels and stuff on it back when I built it, but what are you gonna do? Maybe one day I'll make some proper wheels and put them on there so that it's correct, but that way it's correct and matches everything, I should say. But anyway, let's go on to the last couple of coiled steel cars I managed to find in the yard that I forgot I even had on the way out right now. All right, so here we have yet another GE52 coil car. And I thought I had another one that wasn't in the train, but you know, it's hard to remember sometimes what's where and all that fun jazz. Generally, when I build cars, I try to build 2 or 3 at a time when I'm doing a kit bash, because when you get in that mode of cutting cars down and doing all that fun stuff, it's easier to do them all at once instead of building one and then saying, oh man, I want to do another one. I'd rather just be able to do them like a little production line and knock out 5 or 6 of them at once instead of just, you know, doing them once and then, you know, you go to do it again, you struggle because you fought through it the first time and you can't remember how you did certain things and all that. So as with what I just said there, so this is number 3 of those that I originally built, and then the 4th one's actually the one I did the video on, the how-to videos. So again, just another cool car. This one kind of ends up in general manifests and stuff, and is not in the coiled steel train all the time. All right, here we have yet another one of the Exact Rail gondola cars here. This one's a bit of a more recent build. It's got a pretty heavy fade on it and just some random rust stuff, a little graffiti, just the usual stuff. I got to get some coils to put in this one. Also have the car behind it is yet another one. Exact Rail, I believe, did 3 of these car numbers when they originally did them, and I have all 3. Oddly enough, I think I actually have 4 because I have an extra one, but I'm gonna have to renumber eventually. But nothing too special here. Some of these cars, like this one here, this is from kind of in my earlier weathering days when I didn't totally know what I was doing, so I was just putting splotches of paint on to make it look like rust, and wasn't quite as refined as what I am now. So, but nevertheless, still something neat on the layout. I've got to get some coils for this though, and get it in with the rest of the coiled steel train. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. This is just part 1. This is probably going to be a 5 or 6 part series, because this by itself is probably going to be like 20 minutes long, and that's kind of a bit long for a video on freight cars. So I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching, and look forward to being able to show you guys some more cars here in the next one.